Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. Some people easily rebound from life's slings and arrows. Much of that is because, to be honest, they're intelligent. They have the ability to learn and problem solve quickly in many contexts. And being resilient also being equally frank, is a function of drive. Some people from the womb are more driven than other people are. But what about people who aren't driven brainiacs? The following tactics have helped such clients of mine bounce back from setbacks. First, find a champion. Let's say you're not the sharpest crayon in the box, you're more kickback than drive forward, and now you've had a big setback. Maybe you were fired. Maybe your spouse left you. Or you made a bad decision that's put you a hair's breadth from homelessness and a diet of ramen and cat food. So you're tempted to pull out the vodka, cheap vodka, or vape pen and blitz yourself into oblivion. You need a lifeline, someone to pull you up from the pit. So, is there anyone who believes in you, or at least likes you? Yeah, it could be your parent, but it could also be a friend, a present or former lover. Beware of the former lover one. A relative, a coworker, professor, whoever. As they say in the old AT&T commercial, reach out and touch someone. Without sounding like a basket case, crisply describe your setback and admit that you could use some cheerleaderly but honest reminders of why you're not a total loser, and maybe even a suggestion for a new direction, and maybe, to use the cliche, some baby steps forward. So that's the first tip for bouncing back, for being resilient, if you're not necessarily a genius and who's driven. Find a champion. So the second one is to use what I call, I'll prove them wrong. So let's say you got dumped, or someone said you can't do whatever, you can't do this career, or you'll never meet an attractive person, or whatever. Try to channel your anger into, I'll show them. Aim for something or someone better. A number of my clients have said that concept of I'll prove them wrong was the fuel that rocketed them from the dungeon's depths. So I'll prove them wrong is the second strategy, tactic, tip, whatever for rebounding. The third one is learn and pivot. So let's say you screwed up and you paid a big price for it. Rather than wallow your way into extended torpor, take a moment, just a moment, to think about any lesson or two that you could have learned from that. Usually, important lessons from a failure are immediately accessible. They don't require extended thinking, which would keep the failure, rather than the lessons learned, top of mind. Take that lesson or two learned, identify a new or a revised goal, and then force yourself to take the first baby step toward that goal. Because objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Objects at rest, tend to stay at rest. For example, let's say you got fired from that job of being a counselor to deeply troubled clients. Should you work with a less problemed population? Should you learn a new skill? Should you watch a master in action? Should you work harder to find that kind of master? Whether it be through Google searches or Yelp or whatever it is. Should you change to a career that's better suited to your strengths? Next, so I've just finished describing the learn and pivot approach to rebounding from setbacks. The next one is what I said, don't metastasize failure. Even the most successful people fail. Many of them have failed a lot. That doesn't render them an irremediable total loser. Try to compartmentalize it. Excise it from your mind like a stage 1 cancer, lest it metastasize. So let's say you lost 30 pounds. And like 98% of people who lost weight, you gained it all back and more. Fine, join the club. And accept that the best you're probably going to be able to sustain is keeping your weight stable. That doesn't make you worthless. Redirect your mind and your efforts toward goals that you're more likely to achieve. So that's my explanation of that method of rebounding that I call don't metastasize failure. And the final one is what I call selective acceptance. The corollary of that previous tip, that is, don't metastasize failure, is to accept that we're not infinitely malleable. We've got to come to accept that which likely is immutable. For example, nearly all my attempts to fix things around the house have caused me to have to call the plumber, the electrician, whoever, usually for a more expensive repair than if I had called right away. So now, if a repair is much more complicated than changing a light bulb, I resist the temptation to pull out the wrench or the voltmeter, and I just call the pro. This is basically the Serenity Prayers message. Grant me the wisdom to know the difference between what I can and can't change. So the takeaway, as I am wont to do, I feel the need to give myself an out. Nothing that I've said here is surefire. That said, all of these tips, from finding a champion, to I'll prove them wrong, to learn and pivot, to don't metastasize failure, to selective acceptance, should all boost your chances of bouncing back. In any case, as usual, down below you can give it a thumbs up or thumbs down as you deem appropriate. Share it on social media if you deem appropriate. Make a comment. And I certainly do thank you for watching in any event. I am Marty Nemko.